Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Tarochione, and this is Koko Dean from Barkhouse. Koko is the managing director of Barkhouse, and today we have Jess Williams with us. And he is the editor of the Las Cruces Bulletin. Good morning, Jess.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, we're here. We are so excited to have you here because we want to know your involvement. So we want to, first off, tell us about how involved you've been in the Las Cruces area over the years, because your name seems to pop up on everybody's mouth. They've seen you around for years and years. So tell us about this.
Well, I was born and raised here in Las Cruces, and went to elementary school at Central, junior high at Court, and graduated from Mayfield in 1977. Moved away to Houston for a while, and then came back and got my degree. Was the editor of the Roundup at NMSU for 2.5 years, and then went on to a newspaper career that moved me around quite a bit. And the last newspaper that I edited before the Bulletin was in Taos, the Taos News. Came back to Las Cruces in 1995 and got my master's degree, went to work for the county, stayed with them nearly 21 years, and retired, and was happily retired, by the way, when Richard Coltharp at the Bulletin, a dear friend and golfing buddy, pretty much told me that I was going to be the editor of his newspaper. And so I've been doing that since December. Part of the time that I was with the county, for 9 years of the time I was with the county, I was on the board of directors of the Animal Services Center. And although I've always had critters, I've got a lot of critters. This place is a zoo. I've got 3 dogs, 8 parakeets, a macaw, 3 parrots.
Yay!
A 64,000-gallon pond in the backyard that has.
Do you really? Oh, how awesome!
So I've always had critters. My entire life I've had critters, and so I've been involved to the extent that when I was a kid, I would go out in the desert and catch lizards and snakes and kangaroo rats, what have you, and then I'd bring them home, put them in aquariums. And as a child, my mother at first was not wild about having snakes in the house, but she soon discovered that they don't make any noise. They only eat once a week and they don't stink. She began to welcome the snakes. And at one point we had, I think, upwards of 35 snakes in the front porch. But we've always been critter people. And that has continued through my entire adult life. I don't think that I've ever had any period of time that I didn't have at least one pet. And my primary pet is Mr. Toby.
Oh my, look at Toby. Let's look at Toby full scale here. Oh my goodness. What a cutie.
He saved my life. We had a violent home invasion in 2010 by a guy who was just amped up on something. I don't know what he was on, but Toby actually distracted him, and I was able to move to a different room and call the police, and the police came. And as soon as the police got here, then Toby came back to me. But had he not intervened, I don't know how that invasion would have played out. And so I had to do some therapy afterwards. And one of the things that the therapist asked me was, what's the one thing that consistently brings you peace of mind? And I said, my dog. And she wrote me a prescription for my dog. So he's actually.
Oh, there you go, a therapy dog. There you go. So that means you can go on planes and you can go into stores with your dog, right?
He goes with me pretty much everywhere, and he gets pissed off if I don't take him with
me. Animals never cease to amaze. I mean, that's an unbelievable story. And,
yeah. Yeah. Well, you were the public informations officer for the county for a while too, weren't you?
Almost 21 years.
Well, that's a while.
Yeah, that's a while. And during that time, I got to work very closely with the Animal Services Center, both as a board member and as the PIO, because the previous director and the current director would rely on me to write press releases for them and to distribute them for them. And I still, Clint Thacker and I remain in fairly close contact, and he'll call me up and ask me for advice about press releases, et cetera. And I'm always happy to share any insight that I might have with him. So yeah, that was a great career. I'm grateful to the county for that opportunity. And as Koko said, or maybe it was you, Kathy, yeah, I am reasonably well known around the community. Part of that is just longevity, but another part is that I'm kind of extroverted.
Yeah, well, you know what, Jess? The truth is that when you get involved in a community and you're actively doing things, then you have those people that are going to say good things, and then there's those that will say bad things. So we like to focus on those that say the good things.
Well, and my first exposure to Jess was, I've lived in Las Cruces since 2006, so I was used to hearing Jess weekly doing the county report on the different radio stations, and so I got used to hearing his voice and understanding. They'd have pretty lively conversations, more than just a typical reporting of numbers and stuff like that. So I got to hear him as a voice of reason and somebody who spoke about the community and spoke about it in a very positive light, but was also very forthcoming about the way things were going. And I really enjoyed those conversations and getting to know Jess through that medium. That was really cool.
Right. Well, I just recently had the opportunity. Of course, you all know that I just moved to Las Cruces from Phoenix. And by the way, the weather is so much better here. And I contacted because I wanted to see if there would be some coverage of any kind, and I got to tell you, the Las Cruces Bulletin is by far number one, the best. You have done you did far more than I could have. I mean, the influence that the Las Cruces Bulletin has on the community in relation to pets is just wonderful. Your reporter, Mike Cook, I think it is.
Mhm.
And you both responded to Koko and my request, and you did a wonderful thing. As a matter of fact, I got to share this with everyone. First thing you did was you put Koko on the front page of the bulletin. Yay!
Well, it's a great photo. I mean, that photo tells so many stories. You can see the love of the animal. You can see the urgency of the airplane. That photo spoke to me at a number of levels, and we did have some arguments that week about what was going to go on the cover, but I held my ground.
Oh, it's wonderful. Well, I know it sure pleased Koko, didn't it, Koko?
It did. Thank you very much. I was just very glad to see, Barkhouse getting some press, with what we're doing and stuff like that. And, in speaking about that photo, I can't take any credit for that. That's my wife is the photographer that shot that photo, and she saw the vision and it worked out. I'm glad that you recognize, the impact that it had. And thank you for fighting for our side there.
Well,
Yeah, and that was a freedom flight.
Mm-hmm.
right. And I want to. First, I want to say thank you for your kind comments about the bulletin and our ongoing coverage related to pets and people and how we interact in the community. But I also want to say that Barkhouse is doing wonderful work, but there are other organizations that are also doing wonderful work, and we're going to continue to showcase them as well as we move along. APA is getting ready to move into a new building as early as a couple of weeks from now, maybe next week. So what we want to do is partner with the entire community, Barkhouse included, to really say what's going on, who's doing what, and to the greatest extent possible to zero in on stories that will resonate with people. And a good example of that, I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, was Sadie's story.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, we were just going to thank you for that. So I'm going to show you Sadie's story now. And you had, yes, you published that.
Well, the power of this story for me, I was contacted by email by the woman who adopted Sadie. Or, adopted is a weak word in this case because she actually went out and searched for this animal for 4 days before she found her, and then took her in and couldn't even tell the gender of the dog because of the matting of the fur, and has gained the dog's trust. Her husband was a little bit iffy at first, but they decided that Sadie'd been through enough, and so they just took her into their home. The, the besides um, the value of that story from the impact that it had on that one dog, I think it's a motivational story to tell people that you can make a difference one animal at a time. I'm reminded of the old story about the little kid who's walking down the seashore and throwing starfish back in the ocean, and some old man walks up to him and says, what are you doing? And he says, I'm throwing starfish back in the ocean. He says, you'll never be able to save them all. You're not going to make a difference. And the kid throws another one in and said, I made a difference for that one. And
Yeah.
so stories like Sadie's is the story of one animal saved, but I believe that it speaks to a larger issue of the need to save animals and the power of one individual and the compassion and love of that individual and how it made a difference in that animal's life. And if it motivates somebody to make a difference for another animal's life, then I think that's reason enough to run the story.
That absolutely gives me goosebumps, because that is exactly what we're doing at Barkhouse. It is important for us to not only honor those people that have stepped forward. In a number of the shows that I've done over the years, the biggest one that we had, where we had the most viewers and the biggest audience, was the Empathy for Dog. It was an Empathy for Dog show. It was always questioned, why do people go and take a picture of a dog on a chain, or a dog that's been abused, or a dog that's been hit, but they don't do anything about it? They don't pick up that dog. They don't call somebody. They'll take a picture or a video. Well, you're right there. Why don't you do something? And it really came down to the fact, Jess, and Koko, that people are afraid to get involved because they're afraid it's going to cost them money and time. So wouldn't it be nice if there was a way, or there was somebody that they could have support that would help them through that? And I applaud you for definitely wanting to be on the same page as we are. So I can see you're going to be on the show a lot. Because we have a lot of stories that we can share. It just boils down to Debbie Scott, when she went and she took care of Sadie, she said there wasn't anybody that would help her. Barkhouse ended up helping her, and that's because that's what our vision is. That's what our mission is to help people that see a dog that needs help, or a cat that needs help, but nobody else helped. And the message that Deb wanted to get out to everybody was, hey, people, step up. Do something here. You see somebody, you see an animal, help them. Don't be worried about the cost. Don't be worried about anything. So I applaud you on that. Yeah, totally.
And I applaud Deb, and I applaud the work that you're doing as well.
Oh, thank you very much. So now, how do you feel about how the community has come together during the shelter's current COVID crisis? Certainly, we know we're totally amazed over it.
Well, like I said earlier, I'm in fairly constant contact with Clint Thacker, and so when he told me what was going on, he also told me that he believed that they were going to be okay, that they could continue to provide the level of care that the animals need, despite short staffing. But he also conveyed to me his amazing relief and gratitude for organizations like Barkhouse that are really stepping up and pulling dogs and cats and kittens out of the shelter, and helping to keep that population manageable, especially during this crisis. And I was very heartened to see a video, I believe it was on one of your previous shows here, that showed Koko at the Animal Services Center with just an army of people loading dogs into the backs of vans and SUVs to get them transported. And I was also heartened and surprised, to be honest, when Koko said to you in the microphone that the county had teamed up with Barkhouse and offered the court hold facility as a staging area. That, when I was with the county, the protectionism level of that facility was very, very high, and the unwillingness to partner with the Animal Services Center in any meaningful way regarding that facility was kind of drawn. It was a hard line in the sand. And so the fact that that relationship between the Animal Services Center and probably brokered by Barkhouse to use that facility for something this worthy and good, really, I can't say it brought a tear to my eye, but it certainly it made my heart beat a little faster.
Koko, you might want to comment on that because you were right on the line there.
Yeah, I mean, you were speaking a point that is near and dear to our hearts. Yes, our mission is to humanely and lovingly save lives, and that's our core mission. But really, what we want to be is that intermediary between all the animal welfare people that exist, because you're exactly right. There's tons and tons of people in our community right now doing amazing things, and we all have a similar goal, or trying to meet a similar end, and make sure that there's more happy outcomes for the animals in our community. And so that's exactly it. We want to kind of be that in between, and so trying to broker those relationships is important to us, and reaching into the community, into different businesses and private people and all that is a major part of our work. And our founder Kelly Barker is the driving force behind that. She is somebody that will go and speak to somebody and try to find out if they have any interest in what we're doing, and if so, she's got the information well in hand to say, here's how you can help, when people are obviously willing to do so. We've got a great community, and that's
Kelly is a force of nature.
Oh yeah.
Kelly is also unfiltered.
And one of the things when I was on the board of the Animal Services Center board of directors was, we often, during our board meetings, we would have people come up during public input, Kelly being one of them, and they would sharply disagree with whatever path we were taking on a given issue. And we all we knew that our goals were the same, that we all wanted what was best for the animals. The differences sometimes were about strategy. And some of the differences, the way that I saw them, and I think my fellow board members saw them, was that government works very differently than private organizations can work. There are procurement issues. There's a whole scope of things that are different within a governmental operation than they are for, say, a private organization like Barkhouse. And so the plodding nature of government was frustrating to many in the animal community. And one of the things that I remember I said at one of those board meetings was, animal people are crazy, and I count myself among them. And we all want the same thing, but we have very different ideas about how we're going to get there. And we sometimes let those differences pull us apart, rather than the end goal, as Koko was saying, bring us together. And I am just beyond delighted at your success with the county building, and your success with the with trying to be the bridge and being the bridge for all these organizations to have a place. And even more importantly than all of that, because even if there was nobody playing that role as the bridge maker, the work that you're doing, the work that the Doña Ana County Humane Society is doing, the work that the Humane Society of Southern New Mexico is doing, APA is doing, Safe Haven, all of the Paws, I can't remember the name of that one, but all of these organizations.
I'm Almost Home.
Yes. All these organizations are doing really good work and saving lives. Koko
exactly
said it best. And so the more that we can marshal our resources and be together in that mission, the better off we all are. And I can tell you that from the point of view of working at the Bulletin, we are a partner, and we'll continue to be a partner. And we want to tell these good stories as they come around. We want to publish those good photos as we're able, and we want to help you to help the animals and help the people who are helping animals, like Deb, in this community. And as long as I'm the editor, you can count on that commitment.
Oh,
That's phenomenal.
This music to our ears, isn't it, Koko?
It is. It's great. And so you're exactly the kind of people we're looking for and we're talking about. We want to be able to highlight these things, through our show or whatever. And it's as you say. I've said it on the broadcast when I was in front of the Animal Services Center. It doesn't matter to me, what our official affiliations are. We are working towards the same goal, and so we want to help provide resources. We want to help bridge relationships. We want to do all these things to see everybody's mission forward. And we've worked with some of the people that you were describing, APA. We've actually done a flight with them, helping them send cats, and so for us, it really is about community and all of us working together. Because if instead of acting like we're all pulling from the same resources and competing against each other and playing this, game of tug of war with 8 different ropes, we can all kind of see what's working best for everybody and push towards the direction to solving a very real problem of pet overpopulation. And, like I said, we all have different ways of doing it, but together we're strong because we're going to attack all the ways that make the best sense.
Absolutely.
Right.
Koko, I think you hit the nail on the head with the overarching issue is not the good work that Barkhouse and other organizations are doing. It's not the heroic work that is done every day at the Animal Services Center in the Sea Valley. The overarching issue is the need for all of these things to be happening. If we had responsible pet ownership in Doña Ana County and in southern New Mexico, we wouldn't have the need for Barkhouse and APA and Doña Ana County Humane Society and all the other entities and agencies to be working so damn hard.
Right.
And so one of the things that I've always committed to was an educational campaign, an ongoing educational campaign to bring about meaningful change in this community, that in regards to feral cats, in regards to chained animals, in regards to microchipping, in regards to vaccinations, just the basic tenets of responsible pet ownership. It isn't easy. It isn't cheap. It does take time, and it's often frustrating. And I'm telling you this from a man who lives in a house full of animals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 2 of these animals, the one was adopted from APA and the other was adopted from the shelter the day that they opened the new puppy room. Toby is a rescue, and that's a story unto itself. But those are of the 4 parrots that I own, 3 of them are rescues. I bought one of them 31 years ago, and I set up an elaborate cage complex for my bird.
And they're outside the cage.
Other people would see that, and so now I have 3 other birds. Because people, when they get birds, and I'm off on a tangent now, they don't understand the commitment they're making. It's a lifelong commitment. These birds will outlive me. Mm-hmm. And they're expensive to feed. They're messy. It's quite a commitment. I choose to make that commitment, and I chose to rescue these other 3 birds. And I want to send a shout out to Tom Hutchison at La Posta, who taught me how to integrate parrots into a community, because that was a little tricky at first.
Well, you're speaking
issue of responsible pet ownership is one that we have to continue to drive home for people. If I could educate anybody who's thinking about they want a parrot, I want 20 minutes with you before you make that decision. Mm-hmm. If you want a dog, if you want a great big beautiful pit bull, you should know that they are very smart and they can get over and under a lot of enclosures. And so you're going to have to, as a responsible pet owner, make sure that without putting that dog on a chain, you find a way to make the enclosure that you have, whether it's your backyard or wherever you're going to keep the dog, got to have shade, got to have water, got to have food, got to have a place to be dry if it's raining and you're not there. And you have to anticipate that these are any kind of dog, any kind of cat, they're innately curious. They're going to try to test their boundaries, and part of being a responsible pet ownership is seeing that ahead of time and getting out ahead of those issues that are going to come up.
100%, I agree with you, and it's a matter of changing the culture. You know, so many people now want to adopt an animal for the novelty of having that animal, the attractive type. It's, you know, for a lot of people, it's about it's almost like a vanity thing. It's a statement that, you know, they have, you know, this husky or this English bulldog and stuff like that, and they fail to consider thoughtfully, you know, what it's going to take to actually take care of that animal. You know, they'll go for purebreds, not realizing that, you know, those bloodlines can be overbred, and, you know, some of those animals can have, you know, knee issues, hip issues, things like that you know, we in the animal welfare industry know all too well. So I think what the point that you're hitting on, that we need to be able to, you know, intelligently address with the community, is that education to say, this is what it takes to be a responsible pet owner. Are you willing to actually commit to that full time, or is this going to be one of those things that, you know, you get the puppy on Christmas and then 2 weeks later you don't really care about it anymore and it ends up in a shelter system? So,
or worse, it ends up being neglected and abused.
True, and that's all too common. So we have to find a way to educate, and so I'm definitely always open to your thoughts and your ideas of how do we educate the population here in Las Cruces and Doña Ana County to kind of change that cycle. That's my question, I suppose.
And I don't remember exactly which year it was, but the shelter budget, the Animal Services Center budget, is tight. There's always more need than there is money. But the board of directors at one point made the decision that the messaging and the branding was too important to ignore. And we contracted for billboards, we contracted for pamphlets, we contracted for an advertising campaign aimed at responsible pet ownership. And I believe that that's still underway. I think that one of the things I'm happy about my tenure on the Animal Services Center was we also convinced, as a board, we convinced the then director that she simply had to have somebody to coordinate social media accounts, because
music to my ears.
To really get to people and to connect people. And so that all has happened. It continues to happen. And the problem isn't as bad as it was even 5 years ago. I mean, I think we're making a dent, and in changing. And I hesitate to use the word culture, Koko. But I'd rather say we're opening people's eyes to what responsible pet ownership is. I don't think that most people are willfully ignorant about it, but sometimes they just don't know the value of a microchip. They don't know the value of vaccinations. And when the message is, how can we as a community be proactive rather than reactive, then we start down long road to where we need to be, and where we hopefully can put Barkhouse out of business because there's no need for you. We're a long way from that. Mm-hmm. We're a long way from that, but I think that is the ultimate goal, that we have a community that understands responsible pet ownership and embraces it.
Right.
And we've said that all along. We'd be happy to put ourselves out of a job and, you know, move our solution along to even other places that have similar issues and solve their problem and so on and so forth, and hopefully get to a point that we can solve this, you know, this pet overpopulation issue regionally, nationally, and then, you know, that'd be amazing. That's what we'd love to see.
And you know, that's the old saying is, how do you start a journey? It's one step at a time.
Right.
2 steps.
Well, you know what I wanted to mention here is I think that we talked backstage that a lot of people have a misconception of what Barkhouse is. They believe that Barkhouse is a rescue, and Barkhouse, really, we're a solution provider. But what we really are is a logistics transport program where we rescue by relocation. So what that means is Koko, would you go into what that really means, rescue by relocation, and how we handle it?
Yeah, I've spoken to this point before, and it's an important message to get out there that we recognize the pet overpopulation issue as it exists in Las Cruces and the Southwest region by and large, and the animals that exist here are at risk of either spending long term in a shelter system because local adoption just isn't really meeting the intake. So our numbers are continuously growing as far as what exists in the shelter system and our rescues and things like that. And so we recognize that we're overloaded, and there's a lot of places within our reach, which we'll talk about our reach in a little while, that have the exact opposite issue that we do, which is they have more people looking to adopt, more people wanting to have an animal than they do have a supply of animals. So it's us again to act as the intermediary. How can we make contacts with people that can get them from here to there? And so that's what we've done. We've contacted. We've been working with Dog Is My Co-Pilot, pet rescue pilots, and now most recently we're getting ready to work with Wings of Rescue. And so those are all they all provide planes that we can load up our animals onto that come from the shelter system, the rescues, and then send them to not other shelter systems. That's not what we're doing. We're not sending from one shelter to another shelter and they're in the exact same situation. We're going from an at-risk situation where it could be a negative outcome or just a long-term stay in a shelter system to somewhere that they're finding them homes in a matter of days to weeks. So their positive outcomes are happening in pretty short order. And so that is the real basis of what we do.
So, and then in addition to that, the people on the other end. Now, on this end over here, when you think about the county building and you're wondering how did that happen, because they become a holding facility for us, so that we've got the fosters, we bring people in, and the fosters will take care of these animals, get the health certificates, because we're transporting them to a different state, across state lines. So we have to have health certificates. They've got to have all their shots. They've got to be up to date on everything. Plus the fact the fosters get the opportunity to be able to give a personality. Let the person that the group that's getting the dog, they know that what they like to do, what their favorite things are, as opposed to you don't know that in a shelter environment. So we love the idea of being able to bring these dogs, and we call them the freedom flight, because that's exactly what it is. And Jess, if you were to be at the airport and you were to see, we invite you to have your crew come to one of them, because there isn't a dry eye in the house. Everybody's crying because they know that these puppies, these mamas, these cats, these fur babies, old, young, whatever, they're on their way, knowing they're not going to another shelter, they're going to a forever home.
Right.
And that's the beauty. That's the beauty. And that's why I personally am involved, because I follow that dream. I am part of that dream, and I'm proud to say that.
Well, I think that I'm proud to partner with you in that. And I pray that sometime in the near future, we're one of the communities that has more demand for adoptions than we have animals available. And that when those adoptions occur, that we feel as good about them as you feel about these animals that are flying out to their new forever homes, that we feel as good about any adoption, that animal is going to be properly cared for and properly exercised and housed and all those things. Again, it boils down to responsible pet ownership, and we have a ways to go before we can be the community that people are flying pets into us.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a great thing? That's for sure.
Yes.
Well, through social media, through shows like this, and this show is designed strictly to be supportive and educational for the community. We want to see the community come together. We want to see them take action, go that extra mile, become a foster. And, most of the groups are donation. Obviously, we want donations. That's important too. But action. is take action, take a step, that first step to help an animal, to help a dog. Let us help you. And we want to partner with and say, we're right there. So if you're going to partner with us and we're going to partner with you, Jess, then we've got the Las Cruces Bulletin and Barkhouse and the county all ready to help everybody in the community that needs help with getting their animals taken care of. So that's the end goal. That's the prize.
And man, I want to ring that bell.
Mhm.
Go ahead. Hey, listen, I got one of these. Here we go.
Oh,
Easy button.
Don't we wish it were?
Okay, so I had posted before here about what can people in the community do to help from your perspective? Let's say somebody contacted you. Do you have resources available where you have a directory or you can recommend or anything on that order, or is that something that we can develop together?
Well, APA used to publish an annual directory that had all of the resources in it. I don't know if they're still doing that. I know that when I was with the county, that I always kept a supply of them, and whenever somebody would call about an animal issue, I'd offer that if you want, I'll mail you one of these.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know whether APA still does that, but the template is certainly out there. And if you were to, I'm looking at my bookshelves right now to see if I have one. But Michelle over at APA, she has that template. She knows exactly how to put it together. She knows how to distribute it. She's done it before, and she did it very successfully. So, yeah, that's something that the community could do, is to step up and either revive that program or help APA grow that program to get that directory into people's hands.
Okay. And Koko, do you have anything that you feel that we can ask the community, or that where there's lacking, that we can all work on together, whether it be through social media awareness, something that we can bring other people in to join forces? I'm all about teamwork.
Yeah, if they have any mind to be part of this, get in contact. We'll try to find a solution for them, however they're willing to give. If they're willing to foster, we would sure love to have you as a foster, and we can, give you the resources that you need to start that journey. And anything else, if they can, give to an organization that they believe in, if they believe in the direction that particular organization is going. Like I said, we're all working towards the same end. So, whatever speaks to you, how these organizations are doing it, just get in touch. We're all very receptive to volunteers. We're all very receptive to anything. You'll find that the people in the dog community, even though, like you say, Jess, dog people may be crazy, we're also very, very welcoming, and we look forward to, making these connections and contacts. So if you don't know where to start, contact us at Barkhouse, or, the many other organizations that are doing great things here in our community, because all of us are happy to make that acquaintance.
Well, and to go back to Kathy's original question, what can people do? Perhaps the biggest thing people can do right now is to sit down and write a letter to your city councilor and your county commissioner and express support for low-cost spay and neuter. And
Very good. Yeah.
to express support for a workable trap neuter release for feral cats to keep those colony numbers down and manageable. We know TNR can work. We've done it piecemeal throughout Doña Ana County and the city of Las Cruces. We know where the problems are. That we know that mobile home parks are just breeding grounds for feral cats, and so are some neighborhoods. It's going to take a political solution to really address those issues in a comprehensive and meaningful way. And the only way you move that needle is by moving your elected officials in that direction, to make them think that there are enough constituents who are concerned about this issue that I need to be responsive to them in a public and meaningful way by working toward real workable TNR practices, and really driving the cost down for spay and neuter operations that will eventually help control the population in this area. Those two things, they're not really popular with most elected officials because, well, they're just not. And so
well, probably too much work.
and to make them important, and to make sure that our elected officials know we're all for you allocating resources to programs that are going to be of benefit to animals. I was delighted that the voters passed the GO bond that's going to build the new Animal Services Center in the Mesilla Valley. But what I want to do is put the ASCMV into a much smaller role. I don't want them to have an expanded building. I'm delighted they're going to get it. But
right.
The issue is the reason we need a bigger facility is because we have such an enormous need. If we could convince our elected officials, not only do we need a shelter that's state of the art, we also need to address the reasons why we need a state of the art shelter. And those reasons are that we have an irresponsible pet ownership problem.
Right.
One of the ways we can fix it is meaningful TNR, trap, neuter, release, and another way is very low cost spay and neuter.
And a third way is the transport.
The third way is transport, and the fourth way is microchipping.
Yeah.
So if your animal gets out, at least you have a good shot at being reunited with that animal. So those are 4 prongs, and the transport. I'm glad you brought it up, Kathy. It is very important. I applaud the work that you're doing, and yeah, maybe we should lobby our elected officials to get on that train too, or that.
There you go. Hey, we need a plane.
Yeah.
We need a larger plane. Seriously, we do. Right?
I'm not saying that we don't. I absolutely agree with you. We do need a plane at this point because we have so many animals, and that's another way that we could partner with local government is to find those kinds of resources and to make it less hard and less challenging for organizations like yours to accomplish the missions that you're accomplishing.
Well, if you think about it, Jess, we rely upon pilots and pilots that have their own plane and organizations. It would be great if we had a Barkhouse plane right here. We certainly have enough that we could transport. We've got enough receivers, but we have to rely upon these pilots to bring in their planes, and sometimes there are complications, sometimes there's breakdowns, sometimes it's weather, and all of these things. In the meantime, we've got receivers that are waiting, and then we also have the shelters or the rescues that are waiting, or the fosters that are waiting, and they're all anticipating that these animals are going to be transported at a certain time and a certain date, and it doesn't always happen that way. If we had a Las Cruces based aircraft that we could have several pilots that would fly them, I think that that's a tremendous solution. Don't you, Koko?
I do. That would, allow us to, as Kelly likes to say, control our own destiny. We've got the hands on deck to do it. I don't have a pilot's license, but short of that, I'm happy to do all the work on the ground. And so we've got these people that are doing things, and so having those additional resources would be helpful for us. That way, we could continue being a resource solution for the community at large.
And I'm just going to go back and say and underline this point that if you get your elected officials on board with these kinds of missions and these kinds of solution-driven destiny controllers, to paraphrase Kelly, then you have the resources very quickly to pursue and achieve these things.
Right.
Government is run by the people who show up, and showing up doesn't mean you have to go to a city council meeting, but you can write to your counselor and you can write to the mayor. And when it's political season and the candidates are trying to get your vote, let them know what your top issues are and get commitments from them about those issues, that when they are in office, they remember, I made a promise, and then you hold their feet to the fire. And that's
right.
How you get your airplane. And that's how you get spay neuter. That's how you get TNR. That's how you get the resources you need, is through local government, where they have the funding available. I mean, we're watching the city of Las Cruces doing a Herculean job of trying to help small businesses and individuals succeed and make way through this pandemic, because they have the funds to do that. They call it the Telshore Fund. So I just can't underscore enough. It's people like you, Kathy, and you, Koko, and Kelly Barker, and Michelle Mounier, and Jean Gilbert. The list is long of the people in this community who think up solutions and work on those solutions, but they're scraping for every dime to do so. Well, we need to get to the pot of money, and the pot of money is with local government.
Oh God, you give me goosebumps. I could just hug you, Jess. That is a wonderful, wonderful statement. God, I'm so delighted about your commitment and your willingness to participate, and for your fantastic contribution to the well-being of animals.
Well,
And your insight is it's so valuable to me. I'm so glad we got to discuss this today, and I'd be happy. I would love to sit down with you at another time and talk about what some more of your ideas are, because you're hitting points dead on, and any solutions we're looking to take that road.
Well, I'm happy to help, and I'm happy to be a resource. I'm just an old man with a bad knee, but I've been around the block a couple of times.
Well, let's end it with this. The shelter had a real devastating blow with COVID, and there were many organizations that came together, as you pointed out, Jess, that many organizations that came together, and they did the impossible. They came to without criticism, without whatever. They were there. They picked up the ball. They got these animals out. They're now in the county facility, and Koko's wife took some pictures, and I wanted to share so that people can see. These are the fosters. These are the people that are out in the trenches. They're there to help, and we don't give them enough credit for the things that they do and the services they provide. But when you look at the faces of these puppies and these fur babies, you see that now they're in a safe place, and they're going to be going to an area, because they're going to be transported. All of these that you see in these pictures are going to be transported out, and they either have homes or they're going to be in foster homes. So what?
Well, one of the things, these are amazing photographs, and I'm looking at them rather than looking into the camera. I apologize.
That's okay.
One of the things that you said was these people deserve more credit. I couldn't agree with you more, but what I know from years and years of being in the animal advocacy community is most people, they're not looking for credit. Mm-hmm. Their motivation is not a spotlight. It's to make a difference. And I've said it before today, and I'll say it again. I applaud the efforts of Barkhouse, and not only the efforts, but the results that Barkhouse is getting toward these initiatives, and every other organization, all of them. They're all doing good work, and bridging the differences between us in pursuit of this common goal is important work in and of itself.
Yes, and I stand corrected on the people. I guess what a foster or these volunteers, what we want to do is make certain that they know that they matter, that what they do is important, and that they have made a difference. And that's important for them to know.
I agree with you, but I'll tell you, and as soon as I say it, you're going to realize it's true, that we can give them certificates of appreciation. We can say all the nice things that we want to say, but the gratitude that they need and the gratitude that they get is when they look into that dog's eyes. That's the prize.
I'm gonna cry. Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely. Yes. What a wonderful show. I couldn't be more delighted. How about you, Koko? How about end thoughts on everything? Let me just add this, that for those of you that want to subscribe, they have an e-edition as well at the Las Cruces Bulletin. This is Jess Williams. He is the editor, and he will take all of your calls at all. I'm only kidding.
I don't think I failed to answer anytime you pretty responsive.
I was going to say, any problems you have, just call Jess. He'll help you out in the community.
I'll either solve them or exacerbate them. I'm not sure.
Okay. Any last thoughts, Koko?
Not really. Jess summed it up perfectly. This was a great, lively conversation, and all the points you made are right on. You know, the true, whatever all of us get out of it is knowing that we're making a difference,
Yep.
and that's the point. And we want to, give everybody, let them know that they matter, let them know that their work matters, let them know that they're appreciated. And like I said, I'm so glad that you've touched upon that point, and that's something we're going to continue to do and give credit where credit is due. I'm so thankful for what we've been able to accomplish, but what we have accomplished is not truly our own solely. It belongs to all the people that have collaborated with us, all the people that have given to this mission, and so thanks belong all over the community, and that's what we're going to continue to try to pursue.
And I think that as we're doling out gratitude, I think we all owe a great deal of gratitude to Clint Thacker and his staff at the Animal Services Center in Muskegon.
Yes, absolutely.
Herculean work on a daily basis to keep a large population of animals adoptable and healthy and safe, and that they are amenable to programs like Barkhouse transport. You don't see a level of protectionism at the Animal Services in the Mesilla Valley. You see a great willingness to participate and to coordinate and to assist, and to be a partner in the progress that we need to make as a community. And so as we're thanking fosters, as we're thanking organizational leaders, as we're thanking people on the ground as we're thanking pilots, whoever we're thanking, I want to make sure that we include the management and staff of the Animal Services Center, because they're at ground zero.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
And they're, even in the face of this, very difficult situation that they're facing with the COVID outbreak and things like that, they're still finding a way to do everything they can. Every animal that's in there right now is, their needs are being met, and they're able to do that. And so, a lot of credit is due to them, because they've been shouldering the bulk of, this overpopulation issue and all the work that is involved and all that for years and years and years. So, we're thankful to them. Clint, his staff, they do a wonderful job, and we are thankful for them.
And the ones who are dealing with this pandemic, my thoughts and prayers are certainly with them, that we get full recoveries and we all get back to work.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, what a wonderful show. I couldn't be more pleased, you guys. And hey, now that we're going to be partners on all this progress, let's make it kind of a usual thing for you to be on the show if you're willing to, Jess. We'd appreciate that. And anything new comes up, we want to get it out, a special broadcast. We're up for it.
Okay. Well,
okay.
You let me know, and if I'm available, I'll be available.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, everyone. Thanks for watching the show.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Kathy.
Bye.